Although prisons in the country have a holding capacity of 9,000, more than 14,000 inmates occupy them. Some prisons have also overstretched the official occupancy rate by over 300%. Prison environments are also fertile grounds for all sorts of ailments, including mental health and communicable diseases. This, according to the Minister of the Interior, Mark Oyongo, is simply unacceptable.
We're going to have the stakeholders meeting on the 29th and 30th at Jimpa, and we are going to bring together various stakeholders. They will look at our statutes, they'll look at our sentencing regime, and make sure that they bring it in line with international regimes, you know, where they make provision for non-custodial sentencing. We do not have that in Ghana, and we think that it is important for us to look at the laws and make provision for it. They will submit a report to the Attorney General's office. Attorney General will look at it, make their recommendations to the ministry. The ministry will forward it to cabinet. Cabinet will look at it, and if it's given the approval, then we forward it to Parliament before it becomes law.
Once in a while, a prisoner comes into custody with a child. And you know the laws of this country makes it possible for a baby who is not weaned to be with a mother. We do. It's a problem, we must admit. But we have been able to set up a center at Nsawam medium security prison just here, which takes care of such babies. The babies have a resting place while their mothers also do their chores. The criminal justice system is trying also to look at this possibility of making sure that maybe pregnant women or nursing mothers who have committed minor offences don't come into prison.
The British government is supporting Ghana's government to improve on facilities in the country's prisons and has approved an amount of £483,000 to upgrade prison facilities at Nsawam, Ankafo and Sekondi. The UK government has also released funds to start work on renovating and refurbishing the Nsawam medical facility, which caters for close to 4,000 prisoners as well as officers. It also provided 5,000 bed nets to help fight malaria in the prisons.
The UK government, as a follow-up to that, is now launching our most important prison reform collaboration with Ghana to date. Looking to the future, this project has a number of aims, including to reduce the number of remand prisoners in Ghana's prisons by funding the Justice for All programme, and perhaps more importantly, creating Ghana's first court that is dedicated to reducing the number of remand prisoners right here at Nsawam prison.
The prison service says it is committed to modernizing existing infrastructure to meet internationally acceptable standards of managing offenders.
Right, so we're still looking at our prisons, and this afternoon I do have in the studio DSP Vitalis Zaire. He's the Chief Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Prison Service. Good afternoon, DSP, and thanks for speaking with us.
Good afternoon, thanks for having me.
Now, we've countless times without number, we've heard about expired warrants, prisoners being kept in there. We just heard about overcrowding in the prisons, which is no news. But what really is wrong with our system?
Thanks once again for having me. The system has been with us for a very long time. Needs modification, need changes to take place. That hasn't taken place. Don't forget the prison system was handed down to us by colonial masters over 60 years ago. We have had increase in population, increase in crime. We haven't had increase in infrastructure to meet the demands and cares of the prisons. So that's a basic and huge problem. So overcrowding is something we can run away from, because a space meant for probably 5 people is now supposed to take 15 people. That we can't do anything about until we push and have the infrastructure expanded. You mentioned expired warrants. Yes, some people are in prisons with expired warrants, but the system is working. If you listen to the tape you just played, the Justice for All program is there. That comes yearly. And the prison service itself has instituted what we call the paralegal unit in almost every prison to ensure that there's a chain link between remand prisoners. That's where the problem is. Remand prisoners and their attorneys, remand prisoners and their relations, remand prisoners and people who can come to their aid. Somebody could just come to prison because he has nobody, or nobody knows where he is. Example, somebody comes from the Upper West to transact business in Accra, he falls into an infraction and he's brought to prison. His relations are not aware that he's in prison in Sawam. That unit will ensure that they link them up so that they can come to their aid, either through coming to bail them or fast-tracking their cases in court. So there's a lot being put in place to ensure that we have decongestion in our prisons.
You will admit that, yes, these systems are in place, but there's still a lot more that needs to be done to ensure that everybody enjoys his or her rights,
yes.
Specifically looking at the underprivileged in the prisons.
Yes. So that is why the prisons has gone ahead with the other stakeholders, the Attorney General's Department, the police, to ensure that people who are in prison are not there forever. They designed a warrant. If you look at our warrant, those days there was no space for the number of, or the phone number of the prosecutor, the phone number of the policeman bringing the prisoner to prison. This time, we take their numbers. If a prisoner is due for court and you don't come for him, we will call you, remind you that your prisoner is due for court, come for him and take him to court. So that's a first step, because this time around, it's like people are aware that there's no need putting somebody in prison. At the end of the day, 5 years, 6 years, he goes to court and he's not even guilty. Would have done a lot of disservice to the person and the person's human rights being infringed upon. Having said that, we are aware that we don't have the power to release somebody once he's brought a valid warrant, because with the warrant, we can't let you go. If we get that power to do it, why not? We always do that. Okay,
and I'm sure you're working with your other stakeholders in this. But let's look at another great achievement you're working on, which has to do with the custodial reforms.
Yes.
And how are you going to ensure that this falls in place? Yes, you're having an assistance from the British High Commission and all that, but what is the program line out like?
If you listen to the minister, there will be a stakeholders meeting in Jimpa, as he rightly put it, and that will include all these people, because the prison is just a receptacle. We have the arresting authority, the prosecutor, and the sentencing. They must all be involved in this, which I believe they are. So when they get to that stakeholders meeting, it's going to be holistic. It won't just be one way. It will be one-sided. So that what we are supposed to do as prison officers, it will trickle down to the prosecution, down to the arresting bodies, that you need to put this structure and that structure in place so that it will be smooth sailing. Because to be frank with you, if we are empowered and the others are not, then it means that we will not achieve anything. So that is the prayer, and I believe it will work.
Now, in that story that we played also, we did hear that, like you rightly said, the minister had mentioned that there are going to be meetings to work towards it. But are we looking at probably end of this year or early next year? Are there really timelines, even though they're going to have meetings on that? I'm sure you have at least some background on how you want to work on that.
I won't be able to place timelines on anything. I know it's an ongoing process. As and when there's a need for us to put a timeline, it will be there. But for now, the most important thing is that a step is taken for us to reduce and ensure that our prisons are modern and humane.
Another thing that comes to mind is that, yes, we're working on reforming them, but the stigmatization when they move out there is a major concern. And in the end, some of them even fall back into the vices they were in and then get back again into the prison. How are you ensuring or assisting these prisoners before they even move out?
We are doing our part. For example, they are in there, we have psychologists, we have people with social work background, we have people who are psychiatrists. We ensure that we tell them what to do. The problem is with society itself. We urge society that when people come out of prison, they are still Ghanaians. They might not have gotten the best in prison, but if you give them a shoulder to lean on, it won't push them back into crime. An ex-convict is around your area. We've all been hearing of a pastor who was condemned to death. He was pardoned. And today, look at the wonderful work he's doing. And he has always attributed that to his family, giving him the chance to come back. Many of these people who are out there and coming back is because families reject them. Society rejects them. Whether we like it or not, crime will be with us and prisons will be with us. It is our duty as a nation, as individuals, to ensure that those who have gone there and come, they are still human beings, they are still Ghanaians. Let's give them a shoulder to lean on. And all these issues of recidivism will be a thing of the past.
Now, another thing is also the compulsory prisoner transfer between Ghana and Britain, the UK, I should say. has it been worked? I know you're working towards that also.
Yes.
And what really would this mean?
I don't know. I'm not too sure about whether it's compulsory or voluntary. But what I know is that we're working on something that if you are Ghanaian and you are in the UK, you want to come back home and serve your term, that is possible for you. If you're also somebody from the UK in Ghana, you want to go serve your term in the UK, that is going to be possible.
So is it compulsory or voluntary?
It's either way. I'm not too certain.
Okay. Well,
paperwork is still being done.
And you by next year it will be done?
Not too sure, but I'm sure.
Not too sure.
Yeah.
All right then. I have been speaking with DSP Vitalis Aya, Chief Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Prison Service, and we're looking at the Ghana Prison Service and measures, specifically reformation measures they are putting in place.